Hello and welcome to another session of Let's Get Real with Mona. That's me, Mona Naidu. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Well, it's another Monday, and we have another exciting topic lined up for you today. So, how have you been doing? I'm sure you've been feeling the frequencies of so many planets in retrograde right now. We've just had the new moon. For some of you, depending where you are in the world, it was either the 26th, and for some of us, it's been on the 27th. And do you know what today is? It's a potent prosperity day. Yes, it's today and tomorrow. So you get to experience the frequency of that. It occurs 3 days after the new moon. So it depends where you are in the world, which hemisphere you are in. It's either today or tomorrow, but you get to enjoy both today and tomorrow. So, what is a potent prosperity day? Well, it is the day when you get to connect, align with the frequencies of creation, the frequencies to manifest your dreams. Because after all, remember, if you want to bring your abundance in, you have to align with it. You have to align to it. So that is why today's topic is also to align you to your abundance. Now, I've got an exciting one for you today. It's all about your environment. Now, if you think about it, our environments can really, really either challenge us or support us. Now, if you know me by now, you know that my teachings about abundance look at all aspects around our lives. Because until we understand that we are connected to everything around us, then we aren't actually connected to the abundance frequency. And I know that spirit, source, God, the universe, infinite wisdom is constantly communicating to us. And it's through messages, it's through signs, through people, through animate and inanimate objects, through our environment, through animals, you name it. So when we begin to live life like that, when we actually begin to live life consciously, then that's when we really align to our abundance. Because you see, then we understand that abundance is always around us, it's constantly around us. And when we don't see it, then we know that, okay, we are out of alignment with it. So the question for today was, what messages is your environment giving you about your expansion? Now, yes, expansion is a frequency to align to our abundance. So whether we're speaking about expansion or whether we're speaking about stillness, whatever the frequency is, everything relates to how we get to experience life. Is it in an abundant way or is it in lack and scarcity? Now remember, we're not just talking about money here. Abundance can be joy, fulfillment, impact, service, great health, not just money. And a lack of it can be the opposite: poor health, toxic relationships, not having impact in your business or your career, feeling let down, feeling unsupported. So that's what we're looking at. And today, like I said, we're going to be looking at the whole topic of our environment. And what is our environment actually telling us? Is it showing us that we are growing and we are expanding? Or is it showing us that we are stuck, that we are lost, that we are stagnant? So, what is it for you? I'd love to know. Please do share. Now, our environment can either be supporting us on our journey, or it can be holding us back. So, what type of environment are you in currently? Now, when I look at South Africa and the thing that's been happening for the past couple of years has been this whole concept of load shedding. Now, for our international viewers, load shedding is all about electricity regulation. So we have electricity at certain times, and then there's a schedule that, everyone throughout the country has to be on different areas. So we'll have electricity at certain times. And that's been a big thing because it's impacted businesses, it's impacted people's lives. And I guess it has brought a lot of stress, anxiety, anger, frustration, irritation, you name it. Every negative emotion that could come through it has come through with this load shedding. Now, the other thing that has suddenly emerged in South Africa, and you see it, and yes, it's been over the past couple of years, but you see it. Yep, just seemed to have popped out of the screen for a minute, but I'm back. I think my fingers were just sliding left, right, and center, so I just popped myself out of the screen for a minute. Our potholes. And yes, people can get really, really upset with potholes. And I'll tell you more about an initiative in the area that I live in, which is, dealing specifically with potholes and the aesthetics of the environment. So if you think about what is around you right now, what is it that you're seeing? And it's okay if you're seeing negative things, because you see, it's that awareness that helps you to shift that. If you think that the negative things, the lack, the scarcity around you is something that's there to stay, then no. It's there because it wants you to make a different choice. It wants you to choose something better. Now, when I think about Johannesburg City, where I used to work in, yes, by the time I got into Johannesburg City in 1999, yes, that's how long ago I got into Johannesburg City to work in Johannesburg City. Yes, things weren't the way they used to be. But 2 years ago, no, it was in 2019 that when I went back into Johannesburg City after leaving in 2017, I was surprised by what I saw. It looked completely different. It looked like a big squatter camp because that's what had happened. And I guess, we have to call things out for what they really are. In its heyday, Johannesburg and Hillbrow were the type of places that affluent people hung out in. If you hear the stories about how these places were, but that's what's happened over the time. And when I think about South Africa, when I just think about outside on the road, there was some work being done on the road by the municipality, and the road's still in a unpleasant state, shall I say. But this is how our country has become. And you'll notice that the things were happening outside of our houses. And I'm sure that from what I've heard from my neighbors, it looks like that has crept into our homes. So we've got to be so careful about these things. And what am I talking about? You find water leaks. You find electricity issues with the electronic devices, whether it's the internet, whether it's your electric gates, whether it's your electric garage, water issues. I mean, tell me if you know what I'm talking about if you're here in South Africa. Maybe across the world you're having the same issues too. Now, all these things are happening. It's shifting. It's showing us that things are moving, because what do we normally think when something seems to be wrong, when something breaks? We don't understand that it's actually happening to be given attention. It wants us to know that something's shifting. It wants us to know that there's movement. But when we get into a negative state, we actually get drawn into the negativity instead of understanding that, okay, something's happening to show me that there's movement. So, what is the movement? And here's the thing, when you pay attention, well, that's when the solutions start showing up. You see, life isn't happening to us, it's happening for us. I'm sure you've heard the saying before. Life is always showing us how to grow, how to go towards our abundance, how to have peace, harmony, prosperity, fulfillment, impact, influence in everything we do. But until we choose to understand the signs and messages that's all around us, well, we can live in lack and scarcity. So just think about this now, right? If we aren't aware, darkness, because there's a lot of darkness in the world, let's be frank about that. If you look at what's happening in the world, there is so much darkness out there. But we've got to be mindful of that. We've got to realize that whenever we choose to be in a negative space, we allow and welcome that darkness into our space. And it's about us bringing more light into, and when we speak about our environment, let's just talk about our immediate environment, our homes, the places that we spend the most time in, right? So you want to make sure that even if you got a bit angry, well, you know that you've got to shift that energy. Otherwise, you're just inviting more of the darkness into your space. And I'm sure that you know what I'm talking about. Have you noticed that if you've had an argument, whether it's with somebody in your home or it was someone outside and then you brought it into your home or you were on a phone with someone, you may have noticed that there was a bit of a spiral, a ripple effect into other things. That's annoyance, anger, frustration, irritation, and it seems to hang around. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that the space you live in, the space you spend the most time in, has the vibration of light, has the vibration of harmony. Because that's where we connect with the frequency of our abundance, in the frequencies of harmony and light, not in chaos, not in anger. So this past week, my family and I went off to the bush. Now, for those of you outside of South Africa, it's what we call safari. And the messages from the environment. Now, I've been to a few game lodges and game parks over the past, since we came out of lockdown. And each place, there was something different about the animals. And this time around, it was a stunning, stunning place in the Waterberg region here in South Africa, in Limpopo. And it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So imagine this. When we went into the reserve, going in there, that there's a specific, title given to this place. So you know that there's something special going on there. But what I didn't expect, okay, the accommodation was fabulous. We were at the Clifftop Safari Lodge. But when I got into the place, just the view, let's say this, the pictures on the website don't do justice to the place. You have to be able to see it with your own eyes, to experience the beauty, the abundance that's all around, that nature's just showing us. So the accommodation was opulent. The food was just delicious. The people were so warm and welcoming. And the best part was, it was interesting that this time there was quite a large group of, well, there's only 8 units, so the majority of the people were South Africans. And everybody was just so amazing. Not, well, that's how South Africans are, but connecting and sharing wonderful stories and jokes and just bringing us all together and enjoying the beautiful space we were in. So for me, your environment is also about who you are around. What do the people around you, who are they? What do they support you with? Do they value you? Right? It's not just about the aesthetics of our place. Now, here's what I noticed about the animals. Right? The animals were sending messages that I have not seen in any other game reserve. Right? And this is what we were told by the game ranger. Now, we didn't see as many animals as I have seen in other places because I think that they were hiding. But the one animal that was everywhere, and I was surprised that there was that many zebras, for foreigners, zebras, all around. I mean, just so many of them. It was like if you've been into the bush, you would know that what you see a lot of are impala. But here there were very few, just a handful of impala, but zebras were everywhere. And then it made sense today only. Do you know what the collective for zebras are? Well, it's a dazzle of zebras, right? And just before I came on this live, I was doing a program, it's an energy clearing program, and we were bringing the frequency of dazzling into us to align to our abundance. Now, can you imagine this message from the universe, the message from the animals about us dazzling each one of us, every one of us? So I took the liberty to go and look up some of the spiritual meaning of the animals that we saw that was so abundant in this game reserve. And you'll hear, and the one that really touched my heart are the rhinos, because it is so hard to find rhinos around in game reserves with their horns still intact. It is so rare to see that many rhinos in a game reserve as well. Because I used to work with, the environmental cases and the prosecution of the rhino horn cases, which came through the OR Tambo airport. And I used to see the pictures of these rhinos when they were slaughtered for their horns. So for me to see the rhino in their natural habitat, happy, carefree, and seeing babies all around as well, that was just magnificent. So let me tell you a bit about the spiritual meaning of zebras. So according to one of these websites that I pulled this out of right now, because this is not my own stuff, I've just pulled this out. The zebra salutes those who have been through a tough time but kept their free spirit. It symbolizes the free and wild spirit that lives in everyone. So the zebra is all about the spirit of freedom. So think about it. Isn't that within all of us? That's one thing that can never be taken from us. Or actually, nothing can be taken from us because it's all within us. Then the rhino. This is the meaning of the rhino. Mystics and shamans alike consider the horn a symbol of spiritual awareness, illumination, prayerful living, and connection to the divine. Now, I didn't know that about the rhino. They say seeing a rhino in your visions means opening a path through the veils of uncertainty and bewilderment and stepping into the light of awareness to become an awakened being. Now, I'd love for you to let that sink in a bit, right? This is powerful stuff. This is seriously powerful stuff. And I think I'm going to do a live on just the animals, and I'm going to bring in somebody else who I know is really connected to animals here in South Africa. Because we've got to start understanding our animals. We've got to start understanding the symbolism of them. We've got to understand the messages and the light that they actually carry. So that was about the rhino. The other ones that we saw and who actually blocked our way, well, they didn't block our way. They actually made us slow down. Now, this explanation of them will make you understand why they slowed us down. So the elephant traits include patience, wisdom, strength, loyalty, and strong familial bonds. If an elephant spirit animal shows up, then it means you have these traits in you. It also means that you are sensitive, nurturing, compassionate, and value commitment. Now, how awesome is this? Like I told you, I'm going to have to do another session just on the animals and exactly what each of them were doing. Then we got to see the hippo. And so carefree, so many of them. And if you know about hippos or rhino or elephant, you know that you don't get too close to them, especially hippos. They will send you running in the opposite direction, right? So the hippo challenges you to size up a situation you've been avoiding and to stand strong in your convictions. As a spirit animal guide, hippopotamus sometimes come to people to help steer them out of stagnation. Perhaps you reached a block and just gave up when obstacles seemed too difficult to overcome. Now, how amazing is that? Because we all know that we're being steered in new and different directions. And sometimes the new direction may just seem so foreign. So we just stand still, right? And then there were the lion. Now, there were many other animals, but I just pulled out the big ones, to highlight for you today. The lion spirit is a sign of leadership, which can be a challenging concept because others are not always happy to follow lion's lead. Right? When we take the lead, we are not always praised. And lion sometimes has to live with the feeling of unpopularity. So, how many leaders step back? How many leaders don't go forward? How many people out there aren't stepping into their true power because what they're going to do is, well, that seems even foreign to a lot of people. So, are you understanding like what's around you? What are the animals, the birds? What can you see around you? Is it showing you that you are in alignment with your abundance? What's happening in your space? If we take your home, for example, do you love being in your home? Or do you avoid being there and you'd rather stay at work or be out in the mall or be out at friends rather being at home? Is your home a place that you regard as your sanctuary? Do you feel happy in that space? Do you feel supported? Do you feel valued? And then on the other hand, we have to look at, do we feel challenged? Do we feel stuck? Do we feel anxious whenever we get into our home? Do we feel abundant in our home? Or do we feel lack and scarcity? What's happening in your space? Right? And I loved earlier today, I think it was Nadia who shared, what her environment is showing is support and trust. And that is so important because one of the most important things we want to feel around us is safe. We want to feel safe wherever we are, whatever environment we are in. And do you know what was so beautiful about being in that game reserve? The animals were not skittish. And do you know why they weren't skittish? Because The rhino didn't run away. And if you've been in on safaris and in the bush, you would know that the minute they sense a human, especially in the Kruger or these other private game reserves, they would run off, they would hide, they would be protecting, especially if they've got young ones around. And they were just young babies all around, the rhino, the hippopotamus. I mean, the baboons were all around, the babies were all around, the zebras were all around, and the warthogs. I forgot to look up the warthogs. Those guys, if you've watched Lion King, Pumbaa, they are the cutest. I cannot explain their cuteness, but they are just super cute. Still dealing with some throat chakra stuff. So here's the thing. What is your environment showing you? Where is it asking you to look at what's going on? Because whatever's showing up as a negative is telling us that there's something that requires to be shifted. It's telling us that there's a growth opportunity for us. It's telling us that something's moving and we should move as well. So I'd love to hear from you. What is your environment telling you about your alignment with your abundance? Because everything has a message. Everything's guiding us towards our abundance, but sometimes we have to cross some hurdles. And as soon as we don't see the hurdle as a negative, but accept it as a blessing in disguise, that's when things unfold easier. Things seem to flow. We get through these hurdles, these challenges, whatever it is that's there in our space, quicker. We end up bending reality. So we could have been stuck today, but when we understand that everything's happening for our growth and expansion, we move through it faster. And remember, faster is all determined through divine timing. Because faster is not just a concept of time, of how fast you're doing something. It's about divine timing coming into it as well. So, what is your environment telling you about your expansion? Do you live in a community where you have neighbors who watch out for you? Who look out for you, who you tell that you're going out and they tell you when they're going away, so you each keep an eye on each other? Do you live in an environment where you're terrified? Because here's the thing, as long as we are in fear, we are far away from our abundance. And when we are afraid, it's not really about what's happening outside, it's about what's happening inside. And we've got to get to the source of that. And that's what I love doing with my clients. I love helping them find out what is being reflected to them in the physical world outside of them and where that results from, where that actually originates from. Because that's the beauty of life. It's not just about what's happening right now. It's about where do things start and originate from. And when you get to the source, you can dissolve it, you can return it to consciousness, you can dissipate the effect that it has on you today. Because if you weren't aware, everything that's happening today is not about today. It's about our past. It's about something we've done or not done a week ago, a year ago, a couple of years ago. Our reality today is about what we've been creating in the past. And what we've been creating in the past is based on our conditioning, our patterns when we were growing up, what we were taught. So this is such a fabulous topic about our environment because we're going into spring here in the Southern Hemisphere. We're going into a new month. And when you're going into a new month, it's good to pay attention to your environment. And we'll be speaking more about that next month. Because our environment either supports us or it holds us back. It allows us to expand and be the amazing people that we have come here to be, or it keeps us in hiding. So the people around you, the conditions around you, But here's the thing, it doesn't matter how big a house you live in or how small a house you live in, no one can take the gold that sits in your heart. Nothing can remove it. And when you can shift that perception and you can make the space that you're living in, the space that you're around, and you look for the abundance all around you, you can bring that frequency into the space that you are in. So I'd love to go on because there's just so much to share with you. But what I wanted to share with you, and I think we're going to have a discussion about this on another day as well, our environment. It is The Return of Merlin by Deepak Chopra. And this is his first novel, apparently. So just so that you can understand, I think I'm giving you a little taster here and a little bit of a teaser here about this. It is his first novel, but he deals with how a place can be influenced where negative energies come in. And remember, I told you about South Africa and what we've noticed, how Johannesburg City from being, and Hillbrow from being these, places that the affluent hung out in has become so dilapidated. Well, it's because of the negative influences that have come into that space, and not just that space, into our country, into South Africa. I mean, we've seen it. So that's why I wanted to share with you about this wonderful initiative we have here in the area that I live in. Did I say I love it? Yes, well, I do love my area. And led by the chairperson is a wonderful, wonderful and dear friend, Marina Constance, called, the organization is called Better Bedford View. And do you know what we're doing through this organization? Is they're fixing potholes. That's one of their projects. And the other one is the aesthetics, the gardens in the area. Because here's the thing, it may seem like a simple thing, like a pothole. But do you know the repercussions from having potholes all over and people driving at night and not even seeing it? The impact on vehicles, the impact on people's finances because of the damages that are caused. So something that seems as small as that, it reminds me of Giuliani, the mayor of New York, who went about fixing the broken windows throughout. It's called the broken window syndrome. We start fixing something small, and this is a community effort, by the way. You see, until we stand up and take charge of our community and take control of what is actually ours, because it's not just the property inside our fence that's our responsibility, it's also that which is outside. So until we as a community take charge and care for our neighborhood, we aren't going to shift the darkness that is in there right now. So we bring in more light. And this organization, well, let's put it this way, this organization is doing fabulous work. So I want to give a shout out to Marina Constance and the Better Bedford View team. Just fabulous what they're doing in our area. So what are you going to do in your area, in your community, wherever you are? Rally together, because we don't have to wait for the government to do something before we experience change. Like Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change that you want to see in the world. So it starts with you, it starts with me, it starts with us. So what are you going to do in your environment? Start in your own home first. Start in your own backyard. Do something small. Then get together as a community and stand up to bring more light into the space that you live in. So I'd love to hear from you what resonated with you today and what you're going to be doing to receive the messages from your environment and use those messages to align to your abundance. And if you need any support with that, reach out to me, whether it's through Facebook or through the YouTube channel, or email me at support@princessmona.com. And we will get in touch and we will make things happen. So until next time, have a magical, magical, magical Monday, wherever you are in the world. And we'll see you again soon. Ciao for now.